This podcast is a quest for well-being, a quest for a meaningful life through the exploration of fundamental truth. Enlightening ideas, insights on physical, mental, and spiritual health. The inspiration is love. The aspiration is to awaken new ways of thinking that can lead us to a new way of being well. Welcome to Body, Mind, and Soul Healing Conversations.
Think of a life filled with pleasure, love, and joy. Not just an out-of-this-world sex life, but also a more personal relationship with your partner. By combining tantra, sexual education, and empathy awareness, Dr. Robert A. Carabelli's work teaches us how to use our body, mind, and energy field to experience new levels of sexual ecstasy. He explains with ease the complicated topic of sex and love, and how the chakras and energy system allow us to experience perfect oneness with our partner by releasing emotional baggage and overriding sexual inhibitions. Valeria interviews Dr. Robert A. Carabelli. He is the author of Sexual Energy, Spiritual Power. Robert A. Carabelli is not only a gripping author, but also a clinical professional who has previously taught at 2 medical schools. With this carefully acquired teaching experience, he gently leads the reader into the world of tantric sexuality. Carabelli has been a medical practitioner for the past 25 years, so you can trust that you are in good hands. Additionally, he has appeared as a guest speaker at various medical conferences, which makes his prose accessible for the average reader. Carabelli's previous works include Innovation in Pain Management, as well as several articles published in medical journals. In his book, Sexual Energy, Sexual Power, Carabelli hopes that some of his wisdom acquired over almost 4 decades of marriage can help people understand the core of what makes a relationship work and what keeps attraction alive even after you've been together for years. He focuses on reasons why relationships fall apart eventually, the mysteries of the female orgasm, and the link between the 7 chakras and our love lives. Carabelli isn't just a medical educator, but also a spiritual one, who will lead you down a fulfilling path that will change your life forever. Meet Dr. Carabelli at robert.onlinedigitalprojects.com. Here's the interview with Dr. Robert A. Carabelli.
In your own words, who is Robert A. Carabelli?
I'm a physician, and I specialize in pain management. And from pain management, I have gone more into total healing, alternatives, and the mind, body, and spirit healing. So that's what I do.
That caught my attention when I read about you on your website, your bio. Pain, pleasure. Do you see a connection between those 2 energetic charts, so energetic feelings?
Yes. If you look at the energy centers in our body, they're frequently aligned with each other and can be part of sexual energy between 2 consenting people. So, yes.
Yeah, so they are connected. And that's kind of interesting to notice because I do a lot of spiritual studies. I have been on that quest for a long time, for many years now. And I see that these schools of thought, philosophy, religious philosophy from India, mostly Hindus, they talk a lot about that, life being this dance between pain and pleasure, or being one and the same. There's no separation, really.
The fine line.
Yes, right. My other initial question for you, Robert, is love. What is your understanding of love? What is love to you? And what are some of the misconceptions we have about love?
Well, love is necessary for life. It's like food and air. And it can be between two people. It can be between other things, such as your pets and your and the earth, and God, the divine. There's types of love, and we want to increase that. And that makes people happier, and I believe it makes them live longer and better. Studies have shown that.
I guess I asked the question about love because we'll be talking about sexual energy and spiritual power. That's the title of your book. And sexual energy and tantric yoga, tantric sexuality. So what comes to me is that I always connected those two. The idea of love, connecting with someone at that level, and then connecting with them physically.
Yes.
So talk to me for a moment about that. What is from your perspective, are they really related, or they can actually happen on their own?
No, I think they're related. I'm looking at the spirit. We kind of think of it as some amorphic thing that's out there. But looking at the Eastern traditions, like you mentioned before, localized in seven distinct parts, and each one is associated with an emotional issue, a physical issue, and sexual issue. And I believe that sexual partners can increase or better their partner by putting energy into that system. And there's ways to do that. Different sexual actions, massage, aromatherapy, acupuncture. There are different things you can do.
Right. To increase that sense of connection. Although
yes.
I believe everything is already connected, but we have the feeling that's not for some reason.
Right. I'm trying to make partners aware that they can increase energy in a system where they notice a deficit.
Right.
But putting energy in.
Yeah, that's what it takes, which sounds very simple, but it's not easy in a way.
And that should, which was your whole question to begin with, that will increase love. Because the relationship will be better, love will be better.
Yes, because as I just said, and we talked off record, everything is connected. And spiritual energy underlies this reality, the physical reality, from my perspective, in my understanding, in my knowledge. And I know scientists, they think differently, right?
Well, because we can't do an MRI of the spirit.
Right.
When we can do an MRI of the spirit, then they'll believe it. When we can give the spirit a pill, then we'll believe it.
Wow.
But right now we have to go on faith, I think. But really observation. I challenge people to look at your partner, see where there's the energy deficit, and put it in.
Yes, right. See, I love that. That's a beautiful.
There's nothing to lose,
Right. Yeah. Why not give it a try, in a sense?
Yes.
Faith. Try starts with faith and trust, and I agree. And then observation, experience itself to know. How did you come to this? I know you're a physician and you have been working with pain management. How did you stumble upon this understanding of sexual energy?
That's a good question. Well, from my pain management, I went into the acupuncture. And so I opened my eyes to some Eastern techniques. Then I did some work with Deepak Chopra and learned a little bit about the Indian Ayurvedic techniques. And then I took courses with Carolyn Mace, who did the groundworking work of anatomy of the spirit. She's the one that outlined the spirit into these 7 energy centers. And that was a best-selling book. And she's a fascinating person to work with.
That was enough inspiration for you to write your own book and talk about this topic. Do you also have your own personal experience within this work?
Yes. I try to look at my partner at the time. I'm not married right now, but I will look at it from an energetic basis. I'll look at, if there's a deficit, what can I do to stimulate? Now, of course, there has to be communication. There has to be consent. You have to make the partner knowledgeable about this as well.
So it's that beautiful dance, right? Like
in
any relationship, right, Robert? It's that giving, receiving. It's just a beautiful thing. I love relationships of all kinds.
Yes.
Friendships, talking with you here today, and all these beautiful people I meet every day. My husband, my pet. It's
Right.
just, there's a lot of joy in it.
I love the love of a pet. You know, the other part of my life is that I have a farm and I have horses and I have dogs.
Yes.
And, you know, it's just unconditional love that we get from them.
Right. We wish to be able to do that. Do you think it's possible?
I do. And, each of these energy centers have a basic truth associated. And you can't go through them all right now, but in the first chakra energy center, the basic truth is all is one. And when I do a meditation, I start with each energy center, all is one. We are one with all mankind. We are one with all the animal world. We are, and so on. And the ripples in the pond of that we are all one with everything. And we tend to treat people nicer, animals nicer,
It kind of stopped me there. It's almost like a song, the way you...
Yeah, just 3 words, all is one.
Yeah, that would change everything if we realize that. It's a realization, right, Robert?
Well, I have to keep coming back to it. And that's why when I do my daily meditation, that's the first thing I say. And I envision myself being one with all these different ripples until I'm one with a plant, So
you see, that's the fundamental teaching in truth for all religions. They all teach the same thing.
Exactly.
Right? That we are connected to one another and we should treat one another the way we treat ourselves. So isn't it interesting?
It is, but instead, religion in the past has caused many wars and people to die. And when the basic truths are the same.
So what happened there is that greed, what got in the way of that truth? Why was passed on in a very unclear way, or the opposite, actually, almost in a violent way? What got in the way of that truth? That's really my question. I question myself. I'm always asking that question to myself.
Unfortunately, I think politics got into the way, and that's what happened. So I think if we all can meditate, if we all can, look at these truths in the energy centers and see that we're all one, that we all believe in almost the same thing. Actually, that's an exercise that Carolyn Mace does in her book. She looks at the major religions and almost maps them out that they're all believing in the same thing. So why kill each other?
Right.
But let's come back to love, though.
Yes, right. Let's not. Yeah, right. Although we have to go into the waters of ignorance to get knowledge, right? In a way, we have to swim those waters. So the title of your book, I have those initial open questions for you. Sexual energy, spiritual power. How would you describe what spiritual power is? Is that sense of oneness or something else?
Yes, it's that we have the power to improve our relationships and our sexuality through understanding the spirit and looking at the energy centers and providing that. So we have the power. We just have to understand it and work on it.
And be open to it, right, Robert?
Yes.
That might be the first.
That's the first
step. Be curious, open, willing to at least try.
If I can accomplish that in my life, I feel like I've done something just to make people open to it. So
yes, it's like I said off record. You did it to me when I started reading your book. I was and about you. I was like, oh, this is interesting because I'm very open to life anyway, to everything. But then I see that there are some areas in my life with my husband that I really choose to dissolve some of those energies instead of engaging with them.
Right.
Is that something that is natural to do, or it's because my spiritual practices or whatever I'm doing with the mind?
No, I think it's natural to do, and maybe looking at like the guide that I had at the end of the book to see if there's any deficit of energy in one of those chakra energy centers. And if there is, then you both communicate about it and try to add energy in that system by stimulating it. That's the only way. So it's the type of sexuality that you have. It could be massage. It could be aromatherapy, something to increase or all of the above. Just increase the energy where the deficit is. Is it the first chakra, the second chakra, the third? Is a combination?
Yeah, and you have the chart at the end.
That's the guide. Yeah, that's the guide. You look at that and see where the energy deficit is, and then some ideas, sexual stimulation, things to provide that energy. And some of it is a little risque, and that's between two consenting adults. And I tried to be very inclusive in the book.
Yes, right.
Yeah, they're different types of relationships, and I tried to include everyone. And I know others may say, well, you should have put more of this, and you should have done more of that. And you're an author yourself. There comes to a point where you have to get it out there because you keep on making corrections and additions, and then you could come back to it. Yeah,
I love that part too, Robert, that you included the diversity, right? Different ways of interacting with reality, with one another. We are not all the same. We are unique.
That's true.
So that was really thoughtful of you. When I saw that part, I think it's chapter 5.
Yes.
Yeah.
All are one.
Right. That's correct.
So
that's funny that you say that about, when I read it, I was kind of reflecting, and now that you said it again, because my husband recently, he was like 2 or 3 days ago, he was, it'd be nice for us to give each other massage before we go to bed and all that.
Yes.
And I was like, why is he saying that? And now I see it's probably with that intent to increase the energy, right? The connection.
Yes.
That's what I see now.
Yes, but be a little, try to be a little scientific about it and see where the energy center is lacking. I mean, he came up with a good idea, but it's just where are you placing that energy? Massage or even spanking, like a light spank kind of thing. Could be a stimulation to that area if that's what you both consent to do. It could be exciting and different, and
so he's asking
playful.
questions. Yeah, asking questions to one another. Talking. Actually, in the book, you say that it's very important to have clear communication, right, Robert, and start conversation about sex.
Yes. Now, this deep massage or some spanking, or that could be with the 7th chakra, and as I said before, each of those chakras have a physical problem and a emotional problem associated with it.
Right.
Yeah.
The 7th chakra. So I do have them here. The root is 1, right, Robert?
7 is at the top of the head, and that governs the muscular system. And sometimes people with energy deficits here can have like a chronic fatigue syndrome, and then deep massage or a spanking, or that can help increase the energy there.
Right.
Now, massage is a common one. So he picked a common one that could be in several chakras. So it's kind of hard to go wrong with that. And we all love that.
Right. Okay.
Right?
So is that okay for you to go through each chakra and talk a bit more about the, like in your book, you talk about imbalances. How do we know when they are out of balance and what to do about it? I think the audience would appreciate that information.
Yes. let's just start with the first one. I'll be a little deeper on that, and then the other ones, because, for the sake of the,
we'll take
kind
them
of,
all. Right.
the first chakra is at the base of the spine. It involves also the legs and the rectum. And emotional issues you can see with a deficit of that, or security issues, ability to stand up for oneself. There could be some depression or bipolar disorder. Now, the physical dysfunction, people with low back pain. How many people, I see low back pain all day when I examine patients. There could be rectal problems, hemorrhoids, cancer. And let me say here that I'm not saying that if you have rectal cancer, that the cure for it is spiritual. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is do your traditional Western treatment, but you can add the spirituality into it to help. Okay, and then the sexual stimulations aspects of it would be the intercourse, anal intercourse, foot worship, or so those could be. See, it's an input where you're putting the energy in. So that's looking at the first chakra in a whole way. And then I'll just go through the other six in a basic way.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. The second one involves the sexual organs, the bladder, the hips, the pelvis. And the third one is the abdomen, the pancreas. So for instance, you could imagine a physical problem that you'd have with that. It would be ulcers, diabetes, because that's the pancreas. Then the fourth one, that's the middle. Okay, so that's the middle of your body. That's the heart, the lungs, the breast. Okay. The fifth one is the throat and the esophagus area is where it's located. The sixth one, that's the famous third eye you've heard about.
Yes,
so that's the eyes, the ears, the nose, the brain. And the seventh, we talked a little bit about that before. That's the muscular system, the immune system. So each of those chakras, like I did with chakra number one, they have physical problems, emotional problems, and then there's sexual energy that you could put into the system.
So you call it actually chakra alignment, right, Robert?
Yes. Actually, your partner is analyzing, without being, saying, I'm going to analyze you. But right. You're just doing it if you notice these things. If you want to take another chakra, if there's time for that. We talked about the fourth one involves the breast, the heart, the lung, which you might see in emotional issues when there's a deficit. You can see bitterness, resentment, and the physical problems associated would be breast cancer, asthma, allergies. And then the sexual energy that you would be putting into that system, if you notice there's a deficit, would be playing with the nipples, deep kissing, light bondage, whatever the two partners agree.
So all issues we have, emotional, physical, they are stemming from imbalances, and you attribute that imbalance to chakra out of alignment or lack of alignment.
Right, the spirit out of alignment. Yes, the energy center.
Yeah. So another question is that actually possible to be aligned, to have our chakras aligned every day at every moment? Or this is something that we always go back to it?
That's a great question. Well, I don't think anyone would ever have them all aligned all the time. I think it's something that we just work on and we try to achieve it. And how do we know? there's really no way to know. We just, how happy we are, how much love we're experiencing. That's the way we know. I said in the beginning, if there was an MRI that looked at the spirit, doctors would feel better about it. But maybe there will be someday. I mean, we never know.
Right, that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
To have visuals, right? The visualization of that.
The medical community likes visuals.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
Although it's interesting, some of the medication that we give people, particularly psychiatry problems, we don't really know how it works, some of it. We think that we're very scientific and we have these studies, and frankly, sometimes we don't know how they work.
So it is out of trust too.
Yes.
It is faith.
It is.
How to balance your chakras, this section in your book. One of the suggestions you give is to me, it's like a beautiful one, grounding. I love walking on the sand or the ground with my bare foot, no shoes.
Yes. And so you're stimulating that first chakra, which is the feet and the legs, by walking on the sand. It's a stimulation,
Yeah, so that's what it is. There's something interesting you said in the book. I'll be kind of quoting you here, but it's paraphrasing, really, because I don't think you said it this way. The connection we have with the planet reveals the connection we have with our partners. I would like to understand that a little bit better, Robert.
Well, the planets, influence things on Earth. They influence tides. They influence, the growing of crops and whatnot. So it's part of that all is one. It's influencing things that are influencing us. And make this planet the best it can be. So, we're part of the system. We don't know about life on other planets at this time, but who knows?
Yes, who knows is it's a very good. I don't know. Who knows? A good answers a lot of times. Be open, right, and curious.
That's another subject for another day. Yeah.
Another suggestion you gave. Other suggestions actually got many in the book. You suggest color therapy, crystals, essential oils, as you mentioned earlier. And then the massage you mentioned earlier too. Crystals, I don't have any crystals in my house. I used to have them, and then it seems like I lost faith in them, and I don't have any more. Is that something that we feel called to? I was calling to them to have these crystals around me at some point in my life, and then it kind of disappeared, that calling.
Well, just like you said, your husband knew instinctively to apply massage to you. Maybe you had that need for that. Now, right now, you don't. Now, my acupuncture teacher, he used to believe that the crystal increased the healing by kind of magnifying it. He was a very respected professor at Columbia. And, so it certainly doesn't hurt to have, it's not any harm. I think the massage and the deep, even the oils, the type of oils you use could have something to do with it. Lavender is very relaxing and so on and so forth. So,
and I do use a lot of essential oils, very popular anyway. So lavender is one that for some reason, it seems like I'm allergic to it. Isn't that funny?
Yeah, I haven't encountered that.
Really?
Yeah, but everyone is different, and there must be some reason for that, and I'm going to think about that.
Yeah, isn't that it? Every time I have a whole bottle here in my house, and every time I try to use it because my husband likes that, and I have diffusers all over the place.
Yeah,
and then I can't breathe properly. So I was just wondering.
And in my acupuncture room, I do have usually an aroma, and I try to pick a very, acceptable one to most people. But every once in a while, somebody will say, I can't. Usually a balsam, it's pretty neutral to most people. But Every once in a while, somebody, I mean, very rare, but they'll say that doesn't agree with them. So I respect that, and I remove it, and you know.
We are all unique, that's for sure.
Yes. We have to listen.
Yes. You see, I love your message of self-knowledge, just self-observation and experiencing things.
Especially doctors, we don't listen that. We're not so, I mean, some of us are, but a lot of us are not. And, patients, many times they tell me the doctor finishes their sentence before they can finish their thought. And my best professor in medical school taught me, he said, if you listen to the patient, you'll get the answer.
Good phrase. Almost rhymed. They rhymed a little bit. So
but
true.
We're all in a rush, but, it's a good investment to hear the story,
Yes, and the body has a lot of stories. I mean, we have so much within.
Even with this, especially because you need to listen to your partner to know what they're feeling, know where the energy deficit is, and if you assume it, you might be wrong. So just listen.
Right. You see, that's very insightful to me, and it calls my attention immediately, more than trying to analyze him psychologically and kind of reading, trying to see the mood in the sense of behavior and all that. I love the idea of paying attention to energy. Like, how does he feel, the energy that's coming from him now, what he's doing? Right. You see, that's a very beautiful way of connecting with others energetically, instead of psychologically trying to analyze each other.
Right.
Which comes with judgment, right, Robert, a lot of times.
I was just going to say that could cause resentment.
Right, yeah.
So, mind, body, spirit.
Yeah, see, it's very gentle, this approach.
Yeah. Yes,
I love that. It sounds feminine in a way, but I know that we have both energies too, right? The feminine and masculine.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it.
So a question about that, I know, one question after another coming to me, about the energies of feminine and masculine energies within oneself. Is that something that sometimes gets out of balance too? And then that's not good for relationships?
I'm not sure about that, but I just think it's important to recognize that we have both sides and to not belittle the partner if they want to experience something. To say if a man wants to experience something in a feminine side, not to make them feel small about that or vice versa. And so listen and know what that is,
So that doesn't mean being out of balance, out of alignment, right? Energetically.
No.
Okay.
No. Own it, respect it, work with it.
Yes. And I guess this is why you have chapter 5, where you talk about diversity of sexual orientation.
Yes.
It's not about the fact that we are in a female body, you're in a male body, that we have to act like those characteristics. We don't have to live that.
Right. But also not with the LGBT community, but a straight man may have feminine energy. And you can experience that and make him feel confident about that and act out his fantasies or whatever they are. That's going to put energy into the system.
That's another beautiful message, Robert, because I do see that with my husband. Hopefully he's not going to listen to this. He might give it too much information. That's good that you said that.
And a little bit that you said, though, I think he may be very insightful already. Well, he's married to you. He must be.
Oh, he's very intuitive. That's for sure. Yeah, even the way we met. Yeah. Another section you mentioned in the book, I really love the way you outlined those qualities, I think it was under the importance of sex in our lives. And then you have all these, I think 7 of them. Let's see the benefits, how good sex can improve our overall life experience. So what stopped me here was good. So is there such a thing as good and bad sex?
I think as long as it is between 2 consenting adults, there is no bad sex, or sex that does harm to someone, emotionally or physically. As long as the partners agree to what it is, I don't think there's bad sex. Yeah.
Another question is still within the realm of good and bad. Would you say that sex without orgasm, would that be considered bad sex?
No, I don't believe it's bad sex. Of course, it's such a wonderful gift from the divine when it is full with orgasm, but it doesn't have to be. Just touching and sex without that can be gratifying as well. And then, because that places a lot of guilt. I have to have an orgasm. Right. If I don't have the orgasm, True. It didn't count. Well, who said it didn't?
It didn't count.
It didn't
gotta try it again. Yes.
And the culture influences people. Like they see it on TV, and they think that they have to have the orgasm, and I deal a little bit with the female side of it, with the anatomy and orgasm as well, because that's like a mystery to men.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yeah, you have a whole section, actually a chapter about that, chapter 4.
I did.
Female
yes.
orgasms. It's so true, though, and that to come to that conclusion that most men don't know.
No.
And then you feel like, in my case, I was really, let's say, because I don't want him to feel like he doesn't know how to.
Right.
So
that's exactly right.
It's kind of sensitive. It's a tender
right.
kind of conversation
to have. But there's a way to teach by making the other person feel that they know.
Right.
Or the same thing with the dominant and submissive relationship. There's a way to be submissive, but teach something in a way. It's a dance, yes. But it can be done.
And everyone out there wants to know more about that dance, Dr. Robert.
The next book, maybe.
Yeah, that would be amazing, right?
Yeah.
You see, because we need to know, that's something that I would ask you for sure. Because men, they're very sensitive, and they see with my husband, he takes everything like almost personally when it comes to these things. He wants to be this strong man for me and doing all that. It makes me sad a lot of times because he doesn't have to. But then it's in you guys, right? It's almost like
we've been raised that way, so it's not going to change overnight. But I bet if you work together on that, you'll come to harmony on it. We'll take time.
I'll make a note of it in a way. I mean, a mental note. Although I'm very good with communication, very, very
I'm sure.
good. Yeah, I have no problem with that.
You couldn't be doing this if you were not. So
something like that, Robert. Yeah, so continue with the importance of sex in our lives. That was one. And then you also said, you also write in your book, sex helps keep your immune system running in top condition, which is wonderful to know. It makes sense because that's how I feel.
Yes.
So you want to make a comment about that, Robert? I'm going through them.
Yes, I mean, that's definitely influenced by the energy center chakras. And I think there's also periods in our life where we might not want a lot of sex. And that's okay, too.
Right. And that has to do with hormones, right, Robert?
It could have to do with that. It could have to do with some physical issue. Or just, you're taking a break from it as well. There's nothing wrong with it as long as it's discussed and and just say the woman doesn't think that you're not attracted to her anymore. So you just say, honey, I'm just, not in the mood right now. Let's watch a movie and I'm going to massage your shoulders and, whatever,
Right. I noticed that stress affects men incredibly when it comes to sex, right? Sexuality.
Well, that comes back to the orgasm thing. If I don't have an orgasm and she doesn't have the orgasm, if I don't produce this play, it's a flop. And it isn't.
So it's mental. It's psychological. Okay.
And that stress just messes everything up. It really does.
And also financial, of course. If men are going through financial stress, I remember in a different marriage that I was in, that was a big one for him.
Well, that's a first chakra thing. So if there's deficits there, if there's money and money problems, that influences that chakra. You could see low back pain, and then it affects the sex. And and frequently that's used as an excuse for not performing. I have low back pain. I can't have sex.
Right. The low back pain has to do with worries,
money,
right, in the mind.
Yeah,
right.
Money and control.
This is something that also affects women, Robert, not just men, right?
That's
women
correct.
too.
And especially now that women are taking larger roles in the workforce, a lot more pressure is on them now.
That's another big message for all of us, to relax more, trust more.
Now, people meditated, that would help,
Right. Breathing exercise. I love breathing exercises. The other benefit of sex that you write about, it helps in controlling the bladder for women.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to hear more about that, because specifically you are indicating that we would have a better health in that aspect.
Then especially the second chakra is where the bladder is located. Now, of course, there are some physical structural problems that can't be helped by this. If there's really something that needs gynecological surgery, but it certainly can help by putting energy into the second chakra.
So the other one is reduces the likelihood of having a heart attack. That's a big one.
Yeah. Now, again, that doesn't mean eat all the cholesterol you want.
Yes.
Don't go for your cardiac checks. No, we're not saying that. But the heart is the third chakra, and there are energies that you can put into that system. Also, sex is a physical activity. When patients have a heart operation, they're not allowed to have sex for a while. So it's a conditioning activity, so it's good for your heart.
Although I didn't like that with my husband, sometimes he would say that. Oh, like exercise, sex and exercise, they're not the same. I used not to like that idea, but let me exercise. Not really.
Well, it doesn't take the place of aerobic exercise, but it does. Yeah, it does burn calories.
Yes, no, I have read about that. Yeah. The other benefit is better self-image. That sounds good too.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. We're all insecure in this world and how we're perceived. And so if we're having a good relationship and we're fulfilled sexually, we're going to present ourselves better in the community.
Yeah. There's this sense of self-confidence, right? The body
That's right.
Yeah, it feels more stable to be in the body. It's almost like it's a balance thing, isn't it? The word that comes to mind is a harmony thing. So everything's in harmony.
If you're having a terrible relationship with your partner, you don't feel good about yourself.
So true. Amazing how everything is connected. So increased bonding, you mentioned that earlier, and also better sleep quality and stress reduction, which is interesting to see that play, because sometimes stress will keep us from having sex, but actually having sex is good for stress. That's interesting.
Yeah, and that stress will keep you up at night, so you will have worse quality sleep.
So what is your best advice overall for a beautiful, harmonious relationship?
My best advice would be to have a conversation with your partner. Find out if they have any fantasies or things that they have not lived out in their sexual life, what you could do to make that better. And then become more knowledgeable by reading, some of the material out there, Carolyn Mace's book, my book, other people's, and approach it a little more scientifically.
I love that. Communication. That's a big one. Knowledge, communication. Right, Robert? Self-knowledge and then knowledge about others. Beautiful message. So before we say goodbye for today, I'll have the link of your book on your podcast profile. And comment I want to make, I want to thank you for being open to life.
Thank you.
And teaching us these things,
you.
inspiring us. And what is the best way to find more information about you, Robert, in your book?
I think the best is through the site robert-onlinedigitalprojects.com.
Thank you so much, Robert. Bye for now, my dear.
Bye-bye. It was a pleasure.
The same here.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening. To learn more about Dr. Robert A. Carabelli and his work, please visit robert.onlinedigitalprojects.com.
To learn more about this podcast, please visit fitforjoy.org/podcast. Thank you again for listening, and bye for now.